Let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer on a seriously provocative essay called We Must Seek Peace. Today we're diving straight into some ideas that are kinda gonna shatter your everyday assumptions about global harmony.
So here's the big question. Do we actually love war? We usually like to tell ourselves that armed conflict is just an accident, maybe bad leadership or just really tragic timing. But according to a fascinating piece in the Utne Reader, that's actually a dangerously naive assumption.
So the crucial point is this. Peace isn't actually the opposite of war, literally. They exist in parallel universes. The real opposite of war is this concept of non-war. It's basically a state of constant, armed preparedness that's just simmering right before the actual fighting kicks off.
And in the real world, this divide is super stark. On one hand, you have America, pretty much embodying this non-war idea with a constantly upgraded standing army that's perpetually preparing for conflict. Now contrast that with Sweden, right? They have a purely defensive, protective military stance.
But why on earth are we drawn to this perpetual state of readiness? Well, the psychological allure is surprisingly strong. War kind of proves human strength, and it reinforces our tribal identity. But most importantly, it puts society into this weird state of suspended animation. It gives us psychological distance from our petty, everyday struggles like money or relationships.
But there's a devastating real-world cost to this illusion. Because of that suspended animation, returning to everyday civilian life becomes nearly impossible for so many veterans. It leads to awful struggles with homelessness and addiction. And tragically, and this is a really tough pill to swallow, more soldiers actually commit suicide than are killed in action.
Okay, let's dive into this next part, achieving international peace.
The author lays out 4 huge societal shifts we've got to make to fix this. First, governments absolutely have to realize war isn't a natural part of being human. Second, we need to demythologize war for kids. The sheer carnage of the 1916 Battle of the Somme should have killed that romantic myth forever, right? Third, we need to recognize that the military-industrial complex is a massive economic drain, not a boost. And fourth, we've got to somehow curtail our own blind consumerism and greed.
The philosopher Osho really strips away the last remnants of this whole heroic pastime. He argues that there are no heroes or cowards, only those who act illogically. It really reminds us that armed conflict is just fraught with coercion and, well, stupidity. It's completely devoid of actual glory.
All right, pivoting to our final section, finding inner peace.
Now, zooming in, our ultimate job in life is really self-development, so we can eventually give back to society. Because remember, whether you're Chechen, Arab, Chinese, African, or Caucasian, the human tribe is 100% universal. Underneath it all, when we bleed, our blood is always red.
And this brilliantly illustrates how true personal success means breaking free from just being a wage slave. Thinkers like Earl Nightingale and Swami Vivekananda, they really emphasize that genuine peace and success only come through dedicated, singular focus and deep critical thinking.
We're going to wrap up this explainer with a profound thought from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, "Nobody can bring you peace but yourself." And honestly, that leaves us with a pretty massive final challenge. If true peace really does start within, what are you going to do today to seek a moment of peace and contemplation in your own life?